Mike Moore Media.
I'm checking in with our friends at the Old Farmer's Almanac. Senior editor Sarah Perreault is on our line to give us a preview of the 231st annual edition of the Old Farmer's Almanac. It's available now. Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Well, we talk a couple of times a year, maybe 3 times if I'm lucky to get to talk to you. And it's that time to get an update on the Old Farmer's Almanac for 2023, our favorite publication. Let's start at the beginning here, as we usually do, with trends. What's trending now, Sarah?
Well, believe it or not, farmers are potty training their cows to go in designated areas to control ammonia waste.
Oh, my goodness. Is this breaking news?
I was pretty surprised when I learned that.
Yeah.
And we also learned in our trends section that due to the pandemic, 31% of Americans never want to wear a button-down shirt or dress pants again now that they've been working from home for so long.
Okay, right. I got that for sure.
And then we also learned in our trends section that 19% of Americans have made financial decisions based on horoscopes, and at the same time, 53% of those people aren't sure how much money is in their bank account because they're too afraid to check.
Okay.
It's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we always, we do a gardening survey, and we found out that flowers is what most people are passionate about growing, followed right behind with vegetables, and then we go to houseplants. So I think I was surprised. I thought vegetables was what people's passion was, but apparently it's flowers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I love my flowers, and it's time to do our fall planting around the house here now, as a matter of fact. And so we'll get some good tips on things like that in the almanac as well, won't we?
Oh, absolutely. We've always got your growing charts, your frost and growing seasons. If you want to plant by the moon, we've got those charts. If you want to plant according to weather, we've got those charts, as well as some articles this year for gardening. We'll tell you all about growing hot peppers, or if you're into perennials, we've got perennials for every area of the country.
Yeah, I'm seeing an article here on how to grow the perfect perennials. Can you give us maybe some tips while we're talking here, Sarah?
Sure. So, as you would guess, I'm in New Hampshire. You are not.
Right.
So what I can grow in New Hampshire, where we have very cold winters, is not the same as what you can grow. So we've divided up the country into sections, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and so on, and we give you exactly what is going to thrive, as well as native plants for your area, because it's very important that we're keeping up and putting in natives to keep our pollinators busy. So, we got the exact plants that you need to be planting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and we go by those different zones around the country and what works best. And the Old Farmer's Almanac has always just been great for that. And you're talking about planting by the moon, and people have been doing that for a long, long time. In fact, I talked to someone recently who believes in this wholeheartedly. That's very important to a lot of people, isn't it?
It really is. It's an age-old practice, and it goes by where the moon phase is. People plant things during the light of the moon or the waxing of the moon, from the day it's full until the next phase. So we've got a chart that tells you exactly when those dates are for your area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the Old Farmer's Almanac for 2023 is out now. It's available at lots of different places. I'm intrigued here by this one article about a Ukrainian Christmas. Tell us about that, Sarah.
So it's a bit of a tongue twister. It's called Delicious Dishes from a Ukrainian Christmas. And this woman celebrates a Ukrainian Christmas with her family every year. They're actually in Canada. And she has shared some of the traditions, which are traditional of the Ukraine, and the foods that they make. And so we've included recipes if you wanted to try any of those. Everything from borscht to a really fun bread to make. Very, I would say, involved, but not so hard once you start doing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. While we're in the holiday there, what about myth and mystery of mistletoe?
That is one of my favorite articles of the year. It's a very fun and folklory and just a lot of laughs in that article. So the Anglo-Saxon word for mistletoe is where it came from. It's mistletoe. So mistle means dung and tan means twig. So literally mistletoe translates to dung twig.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the article now. Dung twig. That's interesting.
That is, it's not really the kind of thing you want to stand underneath and kiss under, the dung twig.
No. Doesn't sound that romantic at all, does it? Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And we learned a little bit more about mistletoe in that it's actually a parasitic plant. So maybe you don't want to hang it in your house.
Yeah. There's some poisonous things involved there for sure.
Yes.
Right after that, why birds feather their nests. What about that?
So we learned a lot when we were working on this article, the different types of nests that the different birds need to build. So some birds build them on cliffs because predators can't get to them, and some, obviously, in the desert, they're building them inside cacti because that also keeps predators away. So we're learning about different birds and the nests that they have to build in order to survive.
I'm always fascinated when I see bird nests here on our property and all the different things that make up the nest, little bits of string and paper and all of the other things. I'm looking at your 2022 recipe contest winners, and I'm getting hungry just looking at the pictures, Sarah.
Oh, our recipe contest winners. It was a fun contest this year, or actually it was last year. We asked you to send us your best recipes using bananas. And we actually had a tie for first place, and it was the banana stuffed peanut butter French toast and spicy banana shrimp stir fry. I had never had a stir fry with bananas before, but it was pretty good. And then for this year's contest, we're asking our readers to send us their best recipes using ginger, whether that's fresh ginger or ground ginger.
I like this one here, the banana stuffed peanut butter French toast, that tie there. That looks pretty good, too.
It does. It's all melty and gooey and absolutely delicious.
Okay, so if someone wants to submit a recipe, how do we go about doing that?
You could go onto almanac.com, and we've got a contest tab where you can submit both entries into our recipe contest and our essay contest, or you can always mail it to us at the Old Farmer's Almanac. Our address is right there in the book.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm kind of leafing through, looking at the weather reports and the forecasts and all of that. Always popular from the very beginning in the Old Farmer's Almanac, isn't it?
That is true. That is what we're best known for. It's a rather small section of the book, but that's what everybody knows. If I run into someone and say that I work for the Old Farmer's Almanac, the first question they ask me is what the winter weather is going to be. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yep, and I see eclipses here and bright stars and meteor showers and visible planets and the astronomical glossary here to help us kind of navigate all of this too. And some other things. Always an interesting part of the almanac for sure.
That's right. We always try to find different areas of interest because maybe not everyone is looking to garden or find recipes. So we've got a great historical sports story this year on Willie O'Ree, who was the first black player in the National Hockey League. Or maybe you are looking for ways to get rid of your hay fever, or you don't even know what hay fever is. We've got an article on that. And then family treasures. People are doing a lot of genealogy searches these days, and they want to know how to keep things and preserve things for the future generations. So we've got a couple tips on how to do that.
Yep. Here's one on time. It looks kind of interesting. Just like clockwork. What's that about?
So there was a woman just as recently as 100 years ago who would go to shops in London, and they would set their clocks by her pocket watch and pay her for the service. And she used to walk several miles, or actually several hours, to get the correct time on her watch and walk back, and people would pay her to set their clocks. It's kind of amazing that it really wasn't that long ago.
Oh, that's pretty interesting, yeah. Lots of folks in our neck of the woods here are raising chickens, and there's an interesting article here on Egg Hatching 101.
That's right. That's our step-by-step guide to hatching chickens. And, of course, you know, it's from the Old Farmer's Almanac, so we give you good quality advice, but also we put in a few little proverbs and folklore to kind of make it a little bit more almanac-y. But, yeah, from day one to hatching, we've got step-by-step instructions.
I'm looking at my window right now, Sarah, and I see an interesting spider design. And here's an article, Hanging by Silken Thread. Give us a little idea about that. So
that's an article about spiders and the different webs that they make. I didn't know that spider webs were so strong that a lot of people say they're stronger than steel, and that we've got 49,000 different spider species.
Wow.
And so I learned all about that when we were working on that article.
49,000. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well, that's fascinating there, just that article alone. But the Old Farmer's Almanac, filled with so much good information. We've got a couple of minutes left. Anything you want to mention in particular, Sarah?
Well, we have the family of Almanac products. So a lot of people know us by our pale yellow cover, and you see the big red digits across the front every year. But we also have the Old Farmer's Almanac for Kids. Volume 9 is available right now. It's got a beautiful tiger on the cover. And we also have some gardening handbooks. So we've got 2 specific vegetable gardening handbook and a flower gardening handbook if you are interested in either one of those. So you've got the calendars that we produce. We've got Old Farmer's Almanac for Kids. Almanac.com is full of all kinds of information. So hopefully you can find us useful somewhere in your life.
I tell you, I love your website, almanac.com, and I check it out on a regular basis. And right now I'm looking at us, Region 4. We're the southeast here, and kind of checking the snow forecast for the winter season. Sarah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you and your fine team there for all of the great publications all through the year. You were just mentioning some of those, and especially the Old Farmer's Almanac. It's been with us since 1792. That's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
It is. That's when George Washington was president. So I myself like to believe that every president has had one in the office. Mm-hmm. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I like to believe it.
Yeah, I believe it with you. I'm right there, too. Yeah. Sarah, thank you again for your time, and hope you have a great holiday season coming up. We'll talk again next time.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Okay, same here. Bye-bye. Sarah Perreault is senior editor of the Old Farmer's Almanac. Hope you'll get your copy. It's available now, the 231st annual edition. You can buy that at supermarkets and bookstores and lots of different places, of course. And yes, be sure to go to their website, almanac.com.